Okay, so for this review, I will be reviewing Superman: The Man of Steel, written by John Byrne. Um, this is actually a very, very important storyline type in the Superman mythos. I got the collection. It's a collection of, I think it's like 6 issues, and yeah, it's six parts. And I got the whole collection of it for Christmas. I have the original 6 issues plus a special edition first issue, but I just wanted to get the collection so I could read it without, messing up the other ones. This is a very important book to the Superman mythos. This is basically the story was Superman before this story arc was more of he was gotten really outdated. He gotten really gimmicky. They first started Superman and it was fine for a long time, but around the time before this, they had all these new gimmicks that came out. They had, all these different kryptonites. They had blue kryptonite, red kryptonite, gold kryptonite, jeweled kryptonite, whatever. And they had Beppo the super monkey, Comet the super horse, Krypto the super dog. They had Supergirl. They had Kandor. They had just villains from Krypton. They had all kinds of just different gimmicks that they had, and it was just getting kind of out of control, and they kind of wanted to reinvent Superman for the new age, plus kind of simplify his his world. And so that's when they came out with Superman: The Man of Steel. It was written back in 1986, and it takes place. This was written a little bit after Crisis on Infinite Earths, the very first one, which is the good excuse for them to be able to start this over. It wasn't the reason why they did Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's just it was a nice thing they could use to make it so they could start him over. And it's absolutely great. I really enjoy these 6 issues. Really simplifies Superman. It really makes it kind of makes you it made the Superman that Superman is today. It was more loyal to the Richard Donner movies of Superman. They kind of did a little more with that. The changes they had were one, Lex Luthor was instead of him being a scientist, he was more of a businessman, a powerful businessman. Pa Kent didn't have a heart attack and die. Another one was Superman wasn't necessarily born on Krypton. He was conceived, and then I don't exactly remember how they did it, but he was actually a baby and born on Earth. I don't remember. I'm going to have to read that again. But so he actually could be an American citizen, and that was a nice change. They changed. I love the art, by the way. I'm looking through this now, and I just absolutely love the art. It's probably my favorite look of Superman they've had in a long time. I just absolutely love it. But they have a nice little prologue with on Krypton when they're launching baby Superman, and the planet is about to explode. And then it goes right into the first page is a page of Clark scoring a touchdown because he played football in this, and he's very good, but he doesn't know of his powers yet. He doesn't know. Well, he knows of his powers, but he doesn't. He just thinks he's just really good at things. And that's when Pa says, "Okay, I need to tell you this," and he tells him. And Pa doesn't know everything either. They just know about finding him in the ship. But that's basically the first issue is of him basically finding out about his powers. He's finding out about just everything like that. And that's the first part of that issue. And then the second part is of Clark after he left, and he comes back to the Kents, because he finds out that everybody just hounded him the first time he tried rescuing someone because he didn't have a costume. He was just a flying man, and he came back onto the ground, and everybody was hounding him for information and whatnot, and he hated that, and he couldn't go anywhere, so he came back. And the final part of the issue is they make the suit, and they kind of tell what goes on with with this suit, and what, like, they also came up with how Superman kind of has an aura around him, like a shield around him, so that's why he wears tight clothing, because his clothes won't tear. And then they talk about how his cape will, though, and so there's nice little things like that they add. And then the second issue is basically Superman in Metropolis and Lois trying to get information from him and getting just stuff like that, and just him going around Metropolis and saving people, kind of like in the Christopher Reeve movie. And then also it's of him his first day as Clark, going on in there and stuff. And then there's I think this is the issue. Never mind, that's not it yet. Then the third issue is actually kind of more of a twisted one that you wouldn't expect in the origins of Superman, but Superman actually is in Gotham City, and he basically gets together with Batman and solves something with Batman. And this is one of the first times that Superman and Batman aren't buddies. They're kind of at odds, and they don't agree with each other's crime fighting style and whatnot. And they actually kind of have they respect each other, but they aren't necessarily buds, which is one of the greatest ideas they've had, because it's true. I mean, just you would never expect them to be buds when you think of their origins and where they come from and whatnot. So it's a nice issue. It has, because Superman proves to Batman what he can do, and Batman surprises Superman. And then the fourth book is of basically introducing Lex Luthor. It's of Lex on a boat. They're on a boat, and Lois talks about her, how she's been with Lex and whatnot. And that's cool because, that was another thing they introduced, is Lex and Lois kind of having a thing before Superman came in, and them getting Lex to hate Superman. It's that whole thing on why Lex hates Superman and what he does. And there's a nice terrorist act that goes on kind of on the boat, and Superman shows up, and that's when the conflict arises between Superman and Luthor. And then the fifth issue is actually the same thing. It's Luthor trying to get at Superman, which is a classic tale of him always trying to get at Superman. But they introduced Bizarro, which is really cool. I don't think they call him Bizarro in this, but he is Bizarro, and it's the first time you really see him. And there's a nice thing with that. And then the final issue is actually these take place apart. Like, this is, by the end of this, he's been around for quite a while actually. But book 6 takes place where he goes back to Smallville, and he actually runs into Lana, and she tells him about everything, and she knows about his identity and whatnot, which is pretty cool to think about. And then that's when also Superman finds out where he's from and whatnot. So all together, these are really great stories. If you are a new Superman fan, I highly, highly recommend this and, the Richard Donner movies. But I highly recommend this if you want to start out with Superman. I think it's just the basic Superman that you just love to read. But yeah, I really like this. So that's it.